Good evening, professional project managers, PMI current members and future members. Welcome to today's event, Fast Track Your Pmo at PMI Tunisia chapter. We are pleased to be virtual guests in Tunisia, which is famous for being a net exporter of textiles, agriculture products, olive oils, phosphates and chemicals. So behind of all these industries stands a proper project management. And I'm Nadine, the event manager at Pmo Global Institute, and I will moderate our today's event. So the PMI Tunisia team did a terrific preparatory work, and thanks to all of you for coming to today's Tuesday's evening event. I promise it will be valuable and joyful for you. At the end of the session, we will have the chance to win great prizes. So everyone cheer up and stay tuned till the end. So now, first of all, a warm welcome to the president of PMI Tunisia chapter. Mabruk holds an industrial engineering degree diploma for the ENIT Tunis and a professional master in quality and productivity from ESSTT Tunis. During his 20 years of experience, he took many roles and responsibilities. He started his career as a study engineer in APIA, II performing industrial projects, feasibility studies, strategic studies for industrial sectors like mechanical, electrical, automotive, spare parts, plastics, etc. In 2008, he moved into oil and gas sector to do economics and commercial contracts negotiations for oil and gas projects with ETAP. In 2011, he has been seconded to OMV as a cost engineer for the mega project Nawara to do cost estimation, cost control, economics, and change management. After the first gas from Nawara, he returned to ETAP to start a new challenge as project controls manager for Tetouan gas project. Mabruk is a certified cost professional, CCP, from AACEI since 2015 and PMP certified since 2020. He joined the PMI Tunisia chapter as a volunteer in 2018, and he has been the vice president of membership of the PMI Tunisia since 2019 and the president of the chapter since March 2021. And right now, I pass the floor to Mabruk to say the welcome address to our participants. Mabruk, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Nadine. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Thank you for registering and participating to this interesting webinar that we will have today about PMO, Project Management Office. This webinar, in fact, is a collaboration between PMI Tunisia chapter and Pmo Global Institute, which is online with chapter objectives to continuously promote project management best practices in Tunisia and the region. I would like to thank all Pmo Global Institute team for this opportunity to share and network. In fact, PMI Tunisia chapter was founded in 2016. Since this date, the chapter is working in many aspects touching the project management profession. The chapter has currently 104 members, the board constituted by 7 board members, a past president, and a pool of enthusiast volunteers working in many areas, annual event, PMO study, after works, and webinars. All these teams are reporting to the chapter program committee. Currently, the board of PMI Tunisia chapter is as follows. Me as president, Mr. Kpis Bahri, vice president administration, Mr. Nazil Lejdel, VP finance, Mrs. Najla Turkey, VP professional development, Mr. Hisham bin Abdallah, VP volunteering, Mr. Shukri Dridi, VP membership, Mrs. Iman Fakhfakh, VP communication, and Mrs. Noel Benzina, past president, and her new role as regional mentor. So congratulations, Noel, for this new role with the PMI MENA. I would like also to announce that the PMI Tunisia chapter is organizing its annual event on 12 November 2022. So please save the date and stay tuned. In addition, we are currently conducting a study regarding Pmo in Tunisia. So please, for those working in Tunisia, to fill the survey that we will send soon to help us to perform this study. Please note that 2 PDU will be granted to those who attend this webinar. Please make note. Finally, I would like to thank all the team who worked to make this webinar happening, either from Pmo Global Institute and PMI Tunisia chapter, and we look forward to other collaboration in the future. Thank you, and the floor is yours, Nadine.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mabrouk, for this great start. And now I would like, dear professionals and leaders, to dive into greatest journey, the world of PMO and its opportunities. And now I'd like to share my screen to roll through the first slides about Pmo Global Institute introduction, and to tell you our today's learning objectives and benefits that each of you will definitely get. All right. So now you can see my screen. So today's learning objectives. Today, all participants will learn how PMO setup works. You will learn tools and techniques to apply CVPMO framework. You will increase your visibility and become recognized within your organization and peer circle. You will make use of the best practices in PMO and increase your success rate of your projects. And also, you will earn 2 PDUs, 2 contact hours. Also, all participants guaranteed to get for free the CVPMO framework, to get access to the largest PMO community. Also, at the end of our main session, we will play the Kahoot game, and 5 lucky winners will get full year Pmo Global Institute memberships, which actually costs $89, but you will get it for free. So you will be able to download the digital copy of the Pmo Guidebook. And also you will get 10% discount on Pmo GI Pmo certification program. So Pmo Global Institute is the global body for Pmo certifications, representing global project management offices, including project, program, and portfolio managers involved in defining, establishing, and running high-performing PMOs in and across industry sectors. The objective of Pmo Global Institute is to make PMO learning available to project professionals across the globe through certifications, events, networking, and hands-on knowledge sharing. Currently, we have members in 100+ countries. Also, we have 70+ partners in 60 countries. According to the PMI 2017 Pulse of the Profession source, 46% of PMO directors said that their organization doesn't understand the value of project management. Also, 68% of stakeholders perceive their PMO as bureaucratic. And now I'd like to pass the floor to our first speaker. But first of all, let me make the introduction. So Mr. Wasim Bouaziz, PMO CP, PMP, PMI ACP, PMI PBA, CSM, PSPO, CSCP, CSM, CSPO, CKC, CADAP, DALSM, so a project management professional. he works for one of the software houses providing solutions for the banking, financial, and insurance sectors. During his 18 years of experience, he managed multidisciplinary teams and successfully delivered complex solutions and large-scale projects for major players in the banking sector in Europe, Asia, and America. Since 2015, he has been an active volunteer with PMI, and in 2016, he co-founded the national branch PMI Tunisia. Until 2018, he assumed the role of vice president, and in 2019, he became the chapter DA champion and contributes to the development of the chapter, whose mission is to promote the profession of project management and to develop a community of practitioners in Tunisia. So, Mr. Wassim Bouaziz, the floor is yours. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Nadine, and hello, everyone. Let me just share my screen, and then we can start talking about Pmo. Just a sec. All right. So I will talk about Pmo, as I said, and I chosen the title Pmo in a nutshell because I will try to make it easy and smooth for everyone. So I'm pleased to be with you today, and let's start from the basics, basically, and let's talk about Pmo and the project manager. Actually, a lot of people think that Pmo and the project manager is the same thing. And I'd like to explain here the difference between the two. In fact, the project manager and the Pmo, they complement themselves to do the best work for the project. And let me explain this with an example that I've heard from Ricardo Vargas, and I've liked it very well because it simplifies a lot the concept. So we'll talk about cars, and let's think of a car with a driver on the road. So what would be the road if you think here and we talk about the similarity with the project? The road here is the plan. The plan of the road with the bridges, with the mountains, the tunnels, and whatever obstacle that the driver will need to deal with. So this road is the plan, and the driver is supposed to follow the plan. So now let's talk about the driver. And the driver here is this gentleman in the picture, or it could be a lady as well, that controls the execution. And the execution in our example, for instance, is the fuel that is being consumed to generate movement for the car. So we have the driver driving the car on the road. And here we talk about plan, execution, and control. The driver here is the project manager. He takes the decisions to go left, to go right, to go fast or slow. On the road, he might face problems, as we said. So like, for instance, if there is an obstacle, if he finds a hole, if it is raining and the visibility is not clear, etc. So this project manager takes the decisions to make sure that the project finishes properly. So what is the Pmo here? And here I'll start with 3 examples or 3 explanations of the Pmo. And at first, we will talk about the instrument panel, which is in front of the driver, who receives information about speed, about fuel, about whatever that can help him. And these informations helps him to drive better. So the Pmo do not manage the project. The Pmo supplies proper information to the project manager to make right decisions. like the instrument panel. And as a project manager, of course, I can drive without caring about speed or remaining fuel that I have. But if I do that, this will increase the risk of problems. So the instrument panel will help me to improve the control of the execution. Now, let's talk about the second type of PMO. Here we talk about the instructor that helps me to drive better. Here we can talk about the center of excellence. The second kind of PMO helps the driver to make the right decision, to say, look, when you see this kind of indication, please press the brake, for instance. So the PMO who works as the center of excellence, he helps one or many project managers to do better their work, providing methodology, providing knowledge, and providing training, basically. And then we have the third type. And here we talk about the Fiscalization Pmo. I like this word from Ricardo Vargas as well. So to consider our example of a car on the road, the PMO here is the policeman that will issue a ticket for high speed, that will say this is wrong or this is right. And many people think that this works. Some other people think that this doesn't work, since we have so many challenges in the projects. And if we have a PMO that works to improve the fiscalization, it will not contribute to the success to the project. So remember, here we talk about three kinds of PMO: the supportive, the center of excellence, and the Fiscalization PMO, who punish the wrong actions. And to finish with this part, we need also to have a great driver, which makes a huge difference to the project success. So in this part of the presentation, we continue talking about the types of the PMOs, because the types may be considered from a different perspectives. We talk about three kinds in the past slides. And here, let's focus on other types and on the standards that PMI talks about in its different standards. So as an example, PMO could stand for Project Management Office, or Program Management Office, or Portfolio Management Office. And therein lies the difficulty. PMO means different things to different people and different organizations. And the first thing you need to do is to figure out what it means to you and to your organization. Now, for some people, these three terms, project, program, or portfolio management office, all mean the same thing. And the truth is that it is, in some organizations, the differences are slight indeed. But there are differences that arise from the contrasts between project, program, and portfolio. We'll investigate that in a minute, but the first thing to say is that in answering the question, what is a PMO? You must look at two things. You must look at the written term of reference of your PMO, the charter of your PMO, if you want to name it that way, to find out what is supposed to be doing. And the second thing, you must also examine the day-to-day practices, the things that the PMO staff actually do day to day, because that will tell you what your PMO is. That said, how do I define the differences and therefore the roles of the three different types of PMOs? And for me, that's all about two things as well: time scale and ambition. So Project Management Office has a day-to-day responsibility for supporting projects and their governance of short-term initiatives, typically anything from 3 to around 3 months to around 2 years. The services they usually focus on tend to be collation of information, compliance and training, but sometimes they also provide support to project managers in form of networking opportunities and getting the project managers together to work on good practices within the organization. Program Management Office tends to support one or more than one large initiative or a program, which encompasses a number of different projects and has a span of anything from 2 to 5 years. Often, programs are enterprise-wide and touch large areas of the organization. Its focus is therefore very much about guiding the transformation. Therefore, the services that you're likely to see from Program Management Office tend to be around governance and coordination, making sure that the different activities coordinate together in terms of time, budget, and resources, and also making sure that the release of new capabilities works well and is scheduled to fit in within the different activities of the different projects and programs. A portfolio management office is much more strategic in nature. So it often thinks on the long term, anything from 3 to 5 to 10 years. Its role is about crafting a portfolio of projects and programs which will take the organization forward during that long term, and therefore its roles and its focus tends to be strategic in terms of identifying and selecting the right projects and programs, and making sure that the infrastructure is there to support them and to see them succeed the strategic planning. The coordination of projects and programs is at the highest level, so therefore, this PMO interacts directly with the highest tier of the organization, so often with the main board. A lot of its work is going to be around governance activities, coordinating the projects and programs within the portfolio, making sure is delivering appropriate and where necessary adjusting or even terminating project and programs. In the real world, of course, we tend to find blended approaches between the 3 types I was talking about. Whatever it's called, the project, a program, or a portfolio management office will often have a blend of these different responsibilities or functions. We can call them also services. And each organization will give its PMO the name it fits in best, and the blend of the responsibilities and activities it will fulfill are often driven by the need and the preferences of the practitioners within the project and the program management community, by the senior management, and by the leaders within the organization. In addition to PMI standards, we have also, or we can also mention here, Axelos, for instance, with the Portfolio, Program, and Project Office's Best Practices Book of References, which is also called P3O. And nowadays, people talk about VMO, or Value Management Office, which can be also mentioned in the Flex Hybrid model, for instance. The PMO phenomenon is definitely much more complex than it appears at first glance. The key feature of PMOs are to be unique. This great diversity of alternatives in their configuration makes it much more complex to understand what factors really contribute to PMOs being able to generate value for their organizations. So here we can talk about 2 major aspects, which are minimizing or eliminating the losses and also to maximize the organizational project management maturity. So here, in the last part of the presentation, I would also like to talk about some Pmo misconceptions. Lack of sponsorship. So most of Pmos fail for lack of sponsorship. There is no doubt that the lack of sponsorship is key issue for Pmos. But is this why Pmo fails? I don't think so. The lack of support from senior management is much more a consequence than a cause. When the Pmos are not able to meet the expectations of its stakeholders, especially the top management. So the first step in overcoming this issue is to understand that nothing is more important to a Pmo than its ability to generate value perception for its stakeholders. The second misconception here is about the ideal Pmo. So basically, literature is abundant in type of such a, let's say, types of different models of Pmos, like the strategic Pmo, advisory Pmo, directive, supportive, center of excellence, among others. In practice, the type of Pmo is not a starting point, but a possible consequence of the expectations and the needs of its stakeholders. Hence, the ideal Pmo for your organization may be a mixture of several suggested types, or perhaps none of them. Since the primary focus is to provide functions or services that meet the needs of the stakeholders, regardless of the name of the Pmo. Here we talk about maturity, and this misconception spreads the idea that Pmos must evolve to become increasingly strategic. Therefore, Pmos with an operational focus would have low maturity, while Pmos with strategic focus would have high maturity. In fact, there is no relation between strategic or being strategic and being mature. From the point of view of what really matters, making the Pmo have its value perceived and recognized. This is the most important thing. In other words, the Pmo must first consider that the functions or the services will be able to meet the needs and the expectations of the stakeholders, whether strategic, tactical, or operational. Next, the Pmo must seek maturity, evolving in how it provides each function or each service, which will increase the chances of generating the expected results. At this stage, we have reached the end of this presentation, which I hope you have appreciated. Should you need any clarification, do not hesitate to reach out to me. My email is indicated in this slide in red. So thank you very much for attention. And now I hand over to you, Nadine.
Thank you so much, Mr. Wasim, for this knowledgeable and highly informative presentation. And now, starting from the following session, please take notes, because at the end of the event, we will play a Kahoot game, and the questions are made on the base of the following content. So you will have the chance to win one of 5 full-year Pmo Global Institute memberships. And before passing the floor to the next speaker, let me make a short introduction. So Mr. Ahmed Darwish is the author of the Service Management Approach, SLA Stand 2005, Pmo Transformation Process, Pmo Trans 2014, and the Digital Delivery Process, RASHIC 2019, developed for Fujitsu, Saudi Frenzy Capital, Bank Al-Bilad, respectively. PMI nominated him as the chairperson of the translation of Pmo, Kpis edition, and a reviewer of the PMP exams. Ahmed is holding a doctorate of business administration degree in digital government from Newcastle University Business School and Grenoble École de Management. He is also holding a master's degree in computer engineering and BSc in electronics and communications engineering from Cairo University, 1999 and 1992, respectively. For over 16 years, Ahmed has enriched the knowledge of the profession community in over 100 events as a public speaker in digital transformation, digital payments, Pmo transformation, PMP project management, and soft skills. When organizations are struggling to manage their digital transformation and portfolio, Ahmed Darwish is one of the few in the Middle East to consult for outstanding results with over 28 years of experience working for IBM, Fujitsu, Siemens, Al-Raji, Alinma, and Al-Bilad Bank, accompanied with track record of services, products, projects, and portfolio management. Ahmed can lead organizations into success. And now, Mr. Ahmed, the floor is yours.
Hi, Ahmed, you're muted.
I'm sorry. Yeah, thank you so much for this introduction, Nadine. Annie, I'm very happy to be here today, and thank you all for having me today with you, especially Tunisia. I have very good memories visiting Jerba and Tunis Al-Asima before, so it took me back maybe more than 20 years when I was there, so I'm very happy to be here today. Thank you so much. I will share my screen to start the presentation, if you allow me.
Yes, you can do it.
Okay, can you see now on my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Bonsoir and assalamu alaikum. Today we are going to talk about how to fast track your Pmo. This event organized by Tunisia chapter in cooperation with Pmo Global Institute. So I hope you all are enjoying this session today. And please take notes, as mentioned by Nadine, as this will be covered part of the questions and answers in the end or at the end of the session. Today's session is guided by the Pmo Guidebook, which is the first edition of the Pmo Global Institute, covering the standard of Project Management Office. For sure, you all know that Pmo stands for Project Management Office, Program Management Office, Portfolio Management Office. All of them are serving the purpose of taking projects into success, trying to increase the number of successful projects and revenue, enhancing stakeholder satisfaction, and so on. In this book, we have mainly 4 layers. Talking about how to manage your Pmo and deliver projects and programs and portfolio. The first layer is the foundation layer at the bottom here, which is the core layer that we start with to build our Pmo. Then the supporting layer, which is going to be having different functions, technology stack, and so on. So here, as you see, the first up layer here is the foundation layer, which is talking about to setting the let's say standard. Setting the standard and the Pmo to be aligned with the organization business objectives, and ending with having a charter for the Pmo. The second part, which is the supporting layer, is the shown here in magenta or violet. Sorry, I don't know. So it's another number of processes covering how to support the project using, for example, supporting functions, using a technology stack like softwares and tools, and so on. And then we have another layer, which is the execution layer or executable layer, here shown in green. And finally, we have the Pmo leadership and sponsorship, as mentioned, are key for the success of any Pmo office. The purpose of our Pmo is the approach that Pmo Global Institute has taken or has set for any Pmo to succeed. First of all, we have to know our purpose, why we exist, and whom we are serving. And this has to be aligned with the organization strategy and objectives, especially the objectives of the organization, because this is going to either lead you into success and serve the organization in the way that it helps, or you might take another direction which might not be helpful for the organization, and then the value of the Pmo, as mentioned by our colleague, is not going to be shown, and then no one in the organization will be supporting the Pmo, so you will lose also the let's say support that is needed from the stakeholders. Then we need to optimize our Pmo and measure the KPIs of our Pmo continuously in order to make sure that we are enhancing our delivery and projects that given or programs given to the organization and showing value at the end of the day. So the purpose is all about why we exist. It gives you the clear direction about where to go. Otherwise, you might go nowhere, just like anyone just driving the car going in the street without knowing where to go. So he will end going nowhere, just taking a tour in the street without reaching a destination. This will also relieve you or release you from unnecessary activities and unnecessary stress at the end of the day, because you will be focusing on reaching your goal and objectives, for sure, helping the organization at the end of the day. Back to our framework, which I've talked about, foundation layer and supporting layer. Those two layers will be helping us to identify and define our purpose. And then we go to measure and optimize through execution, and with the support of the Pmo leadership and sponsorship of the organization, so we can achieve objectives of the Pmo and show the value that we are expecting from the Pmo to everyone in the organization, especially the executives and the sponsors who are looking for a successful Pmo to help them achieving their business objectives. Now we are going to talk about the purpose. So we will cover the first two layers, the foundation layer, as well as the supporting layer, helping us to establish a Pmo, which should be successful or can be succeed to deliver the value. The foundation layer is composed of 7 processes, as you can see here. Those processes are usually processed or executed in sequence. So first of all, we have to understand what is the business objective that we have from the Pmo, and the Pmo need to be aligned with. So the organization, either a bank, a hospital, a ministry, or let's say a school, university, whatever, they have business objectives to achieve. Let's say vision and mission of that organization. Then our Pmo need to be aligned with this mission and vision, and have its own mission and vision to serve these objectives or that objective, whatever, in order to take that organization to the success. Accordingly, we are going to build our Pmo strategy in line with this, let's say, objective, in order to make sure that we are taking the organization to the required or destination that we need to reach. Next, we are going to do a health check, which is that you just need to make sure that you are processing your organization and your activities in a proper manner. So you need to answer questions by yes or no. Do you do 1, 2, 3, 4? Just like when we ask you about your health check, in the hospital? Do you have any diabetes? Do you have any blood sugar? Blah, 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 blah. This is the questions, or these are the questions that we normally ask the PMO about, to make sure that if there is a PMO in the organization, that they are doing the right things. Then from that, we go for what's called maturity assessment. And here you can see that we have 5 levels of maturity that we need to achieve from level 1 in order to reach level 5. It's a huge, let's say, effort to reach level 5. However, just to give you an introduction about this maturity model, we start with having an organization where they don't have, let's say, a proper way to manage projects. So they just in the initiation or ad hoc stage, where they can just manage projects in ad hoc manner. Then if the organization is having a project management or project level adoption of a methodology or an approach or processes, then we can start talking about level 2. If the organization have this defined at the organization level, and all projects and all processes within the organization are well defined and following the same, let's say, processes and procedures, then we are at level 3. Moving forward, we start by, let's say, measuring our performance by quantitatively managing those projects. So we are starting to measure the KPIs and the matrices of these processes until we reach level 5, where we start taking these processes into optimized stage, or we continuously optimize the processes and procedures and projects based on historical information, based on the past experience that we have, and so on. So those 5 levels are the maturity levels of our PMO. Similar, maybe if you know about CMMI or other, let's say, standards that we have as maturity models. Back to our foundation layer. After we do the maturity assessment, we go to analyze and define the functions that PMO need to play in this organization. So for example, if the PMO is going to be just a supporting function, okay, then we will have maybe reporting, we will have training, we will have these kind of functions. If the PMO will be more advanced and more directive, then maybe we will start having governance functions as well. So these functions are tailored according to the functionality and the job and the, let's say, the mission of the PMO, which is going to play in the organization. After we define all of this, we need to go for chartering our PMO. So we have a charter, and then we set a roadmap for us to proceed. Sometimes you set the roadmap before the charter or the charter after the roadmap. However, whatever you do, these 2 steps are mandatory at the end of the foundation layer in order to set the clear direction and roadmap of your PMO and give the PMO the authority to start kicking off and playing the role assigned to it in the organization. Any questions so far?
Mr. Ahmed, all questions will be at the end of our main sessions. There will be a QA part, so we are collecting all questions and we'll ask you later then. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Nadine. Now moving to the supporting layer. This layer is going to help the PMO, which already chartered now, and we have a clear roadmap to achieve. We need to set the models, the methods, and artifacts that we are going to adopt. Then we'll talk about stakeholder management, and we all as PMP certified or PM professionals, we know how important is the stakeholder management in order to make sure that we are aligned with them, we are getting their support, we are having them engaged in our PMO to make sure that we are going into the success and getting the buy-in of all the people surrounding us. Our PMO, as you know, is working in an environment. So the context and the environment surrounding our PMO is going to highly impact the PMO execution and the measures later on. So we need to understand our environment very well to make sure that we are aligned with all norms, terms and conditions, organization structure, let's say the software and the tools used in the organization. Either we are working in a functional organization or projectized organizations, either our organization or the other organizations where we are dealing with. So all these factors and environmental factors are going to affect the progress and the development of the PMO along the road. The technology stack, we need to choose the best technology and software that we can use to help us managing our PMO. And طبعا for sure, Pmo Global Institute has a few tools that can help any organization to manage projects properly, and they are based AI based, so it's also a smart tool to help you manage your projects. Next, we are going to talk about the team structure and the succession planning and supporting functions. All those are related to the structure and types of the PMO. As we mentioned, you have to make sure that the team structure is helping you to achieve. You have proper staff. طبعا for sure, the resources of the PMO need to be highly aligned with the PMO objectives, PMO strategy, vision, and mission, and showing the value to the organization. So those resources are key resources and very important for us to have the proper resources, skillful, knowledgeable, they understand the objectives and goals and vision and mission, and act accordingly in order to show the value of the PMO to the organization. As we mentioned that we have different types of PMO, supportive, directive, enterprise PMO, legal PMO, or compliance PMO. We have almost 9 types of PMOs as types in the organization and could be adapted. Sometimes we have a PMO at the IT level, sometimes we have a PMO at the enterprise level. So all these types of PMO need to be considered, and we should choose the best type and structure help us to achieve the main objective of the PMO. طبعا for sure, today we are talking about agility, and since 2000, the organizations across the world start adopting agility. And for sure, agility is very important for us in the PMO to make sure that we are coping with the market changes. We are delivering projects faster, so we can deliver fast time to market to our business. We are keeping and maintaining good relationship with our stakeholders, keeping them happy, delivering a workable product rather than just sticking to a solid scope, which might be at the end of the day not giving the value to the business which they would like to have. So agile PMO now is a trend, and Pmo Global Institute is having this as one of the key concepts of the PMO. Next, we are going to measure and optimize. So we are going to talk about the executable layer as well as the leadership sponsorship layer, where we have 3 processes to help us achieve our objectives. The executable layer composed of 7 processes, similar to the foundation layer. Here we are talking about start developing our policy, procedures, and governance. Okay, the 2PG. So here the policy of the PMO need to be well known, set and stick to with very high level of conformance. Then our procedures and our governance model in order to make sure that we are doing the proper governance for our PMO as well as the projects and programs and portfolios running within our organization. Before we start taking the PMO to the large scale, performing all functions, we might need to run a POC or proof of concept for our PMO. So we might take, let's say, 1 or 2 functions or a small function and show the value of that function when it runs. So the stakeholders will see how the PMO is performing and how it is showing value to the organization. And then we go to the complete adoption of the PMO in the organization. Here, this is the first step. We are going to really to measure or define our measurements, where we define the Pmo KPIs. For sure, KPIs are key performance indicators, which are things that we need to measure in order to make sure that the PMO is achieving the objectives. Okay, we are repeating the same sentence as you see or as you hear several times, because this is one of the key concepts that the Pmo Global Institute is highlighting, that the PMO should be always aligned with the business objectives, strategy, and so on. So we define number of KPIs, and let's say here in a small exercise, what do you think those KPIs could be? If you want, you can share maybe some of your thoughts in the chat. KPIs normally are the performance indicators for the things that we need to achieve, and make sure that these KPIs are properly measured to reflect that how much the PMO is showing value to the organization. So if you please, as mentioned by Corinne, if you can help us, give us what do you think that KPIs of the PMO should be? Any thoughts? I think Dora, profitability, Hamza, very good. So measuring the profitability, percentage of compliance of projects, exactly, Dora. Satisfying sponsor quickly, yes, perfect. Percentage of projects completed or successful projects, exactly. Performance, Ramzi, Mumtaz, Tony. Nawaf, percentage of project value delivered, yes. So it's not only about project delivered, but also the value delivered. Very good. Good return on investment, perfect, Nadine, yes, correct. So mashallah, I think we have yeah, resource capacity, yeah, team management, resource management. I think mashallah, we have covered almost 10 satisfaction of the stakeholders. Yes, exactly, again, stakeholder satisfaction, or the level of satisfaction of the stakeholders. Client retention, cost, projects, and saving, exactly. Mashallah, I think we have here high number of professional project managers and portfolio managers, and even PMO people. Return on investment, yeah, Ramzi, exactly. Hisham, client retention is very good. Also, staff retention is also another KPI maybe you can use for the PMO. Perfect. Thank you so much for your participation. Really encouraging me to continue. So here we are talking about these common KPIs, as you mentioned, improving the percentage of project completion, the prediction of the projects, stakeholder satisfaction, we have mentioned, improve ROI, time to market, resource process management, and at the end, the finances, and which you have also mentioned about cost, also revenue, stakeholder management, resource management, and so on. I think we have covered the mainly majority of those, maybe the prediction also just to be added here, and the rest I think we have mentioned in our chat. So back to our execution layer. After we define those KPIs, we need to define the rules and responsibilities and develop the competencies of our PMO team. As we mentioned, those people are the key for our success. Next, we evaluate our return on investment, which we have mentioned as a KPI also. So we need to show the value of the PMI in terms of return on investment or financial, because most of the people like to understand and measure these things in financials. And this is the language of the business. So we have to measure and evaluate our return on investment after a while, and keep monitoring our ROI all the time to show the value of the PMO to everyone. Tracking our performance is also very important because this will be showing the value and how we are achieving the objectives of the organization. And internally and externally, we need to show this performance to the organization in order to make sure that we are in sync and we are enhancing our performance from time to time, and we are doing well for the sake of optimization. Then continuously, we need to improve our PMO. So continuous improvement, as we have everywhere in ITIL, in ISO, in PMP, in everywhere, Prince 2. So across the whole industries and standards and methodologies, we always need to continuously improve ourselves, and we don't stick to the situation where we have, because dynamic market is there, dynamic needs and changes to the needs and objectives of the organization should be reflected to the PMO, should be reflected to the business and PMO processes and procedures. So continuous improvement is unavoidable, and we need to continuously improve ourselves to be there and to make sure that we are doing well and helping the organization to achieve. I'll skip those two, we have already covered. Finally, we go to the leadership and sponsorship layer. This is the layer that we have to have at the bottom as shown in the framework, because without helping and the help of the stakeholders and a leadership in the PMO, we cannot succeed. Along with emotional intelligence, which we are going to talk about, is something that we really need to help us to proper manage ourselves as well as others in order to increase the performance of the team and individuals in the PMO and maybe in the organization as a whole. Leadership of the PMO is very important. If we don't have a leader in the PMO who can lead the PMO into success, who has a clear vision and direction and can align the team toward achieving the vision and mission of the PMO as well as the business objectives of the organization, I think this PMO might not succeed. And for sure, this is one of the key failure reasons of any PMO failure, is not having a PMO leader, or next is not having a sponsorship or someone to sponsor the PMO and have very good relationship with the PMO manager and the team in order to support them and avoid unnecessary, let's say, influence of others in the organization, to protect the PMO from external influence and having them focusing on delivering the value that we are expecting. طبعا, keeping good relationship with the sponsor or the sponsorship of the PMO is very important. This is part of the stakeholder management as well as it's bi-directional. So execution or executive sponsorship is very important for us, so the executives to support us to help and achieve. From the other side, we have to maintain their engagement, make sure that we are, let's say, giving them what they are expecting, keeping them satisfied and motivated. So we take the two-directional approach to make sure that they are supporting us and we are as well managing them properly as key stakeholder in our stakeholder list. Emotional intelligence, and this is the final part of our presentation, is one of the key things that we are talking about today. If you remember that we used to do QI tests or IQ tests, previously. Now we are talking about emotional intelligence, and these intelligence aspects are very important now for any leader and any employee working actually in the organizations. So emotional intelligence is about your intrapersonal things and interpersonal things. So either dealing with yourself or dealing with others. Okay, so you have to be aware of yourself, about your emotions. So you need to understand yourself first in order to be able to have some social awareness about the feeling and the awareness of others. Okay, so intrapersonal and interpersonal in conjunction with the others who are working with you, either in the team or in the organization. Next, we go to the behavior. So you have to manage yourself as well as the relationship with others. طبعا, for sure here, the interpersonal skills are self-awareness, emotional self-awareness, accurate self-assessment, and self-confidence. And here you need to know the social awareness. So you have empathy, you have organizational awareness, and service orientation about others. Behavioral, you have, as we mentioned, self-management. So this is composed of your emotional self-control. You have to control your emotions. You have to be initiative and or having optimism. And you have to make sure that you have proper relationship management with others. So developing them, inspiring them, and manage the conflict that might arise between them in order to make sure that your team is performing well. So your self-performance is going to be high, your people performance is going to be high. So the intelligence here, or the emotional intelligence here, is going to be impacting a lot of aspects in our environment. So it improves your decision making, it decreases occupational stress, or offload the team from the stress or unnecessary stress, reduce the turnover of the staff, increase the personal well-being, increase your leadership ability, as well as the team performance, which is, at the end of the day, is the aim of all of what we are doing, and this cycle continuously running. So we always improve our decision making until we reach increasing the team performance. As per the statistics that we have here, that 90% of the top performance, they have high emotional intelligence. So you have to make sure that you either study emotional intelligence or apply it very well in your day-to-day activities in order to be one of these 90% top performance anywhere. The other statistics is mentioning that let's say 58%, okay, of the success is based on emotional intelligence. So emotional intelligence accounts for 58% of the success that you might have in your work. So emotional intelligence is not only 50% of the, let's say, factors helping you to succeed. It's representing more than that. It's 58%. That is not an easy and small percentage. So all we need to consider emotional intelligence as part of our day-to-day activities. By the way, this is not only during your day-to-day activities at work, it's also during your life with friends, with family, with your wife and children, and or your husband. So it's very important for you to have this intelligence, and I encourage all of you to study emotional intelligence courses in order to make sure that you are a successful person and you can succeed in your work as well as personal life. So let's recap. Pmo approach is talking about purpose, measure, and optimization. We have 4 layers. We have the support layer and the foundation layer, giving us the, let's say, foundation to understand our purpose. And we have executable and leadership sponsorship layer, which gives us the measure and optimize capabilities of our Pmo. So we continue doing a Pmo approach, which is understand and know your purpose, continuously measure and optimize your performance in order to make sure that you are achieving the objectives. This is the framework that we are talking about. As you see here, Pmo leadership and executable, our executive leadership and sponsorship, emotional intelligence are here. This layer is helping us to achieve all what is above it. And thank you so much for your time today. This is my contact details. At any time, you can approach me. I have LinkedIn profile also, Darwish A, and my email address is here. I have also the YouTube channel, New Tech Digi, and you can also subscribe to get updates about digital transformation and Pmo and project management principles and concepts.
Dr. Ahmed, thank you so much for this accurate and valuable presentation, and especially for your recap and conclusion. Hope everyone could take notes. And now I will take over to Corinne O'Brien. Corinne is the Vice President of Partnerships for Europe and Latin America at Pmo Global Institute. She's responsible for promoting Pmo learning through collaboration and the partnership program. Corinne is an expert communicator who has benefited from engaging in multiple work experiences across industry verticals, including finance, education, and hospitality. She has a deep understanding of the diversity of project management, gaining cross-cultural expertise from operating in 6 countries across 3 continents over the past 16 years. Corinne understands how hard it can be to drive constructive and long-lasting change in organizations. By sharing the knowledge of Pmo Global Institute Pmo framework and guidebook, Corinne strives to change the fabric of Pmos across continents by ensuring Pmos are not simply performing, but succeeding, thriving, and speaking the same global language. Let's welcome Corinne. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Nadine. Thank you. When you hear an introduction like that, I just feel quite shy about it, really. But thank you, Nadine. That was brilliant. Thank you so much. Dr. Darwish, that was absolutely amazing. I think you did a fantastic presentation there of the Pmo framework. It was absolutely wonderful. Thank you. And thank everybody here tonight for sharing your Tuesday night with us. I know that it's the summer. I'm sure it's very, very hot in Tunisia tonight. So I hope you're sat under the aircon and you're enjoying this event. First of all, I know it's quite nice to be off camera, but would you mind just switching your camera on just for a second? I'd love to get a group photo of us so I can, you know, tag everybody on LinkedIn and show everybody what we were doing this evening. So if you're feeling confident, can you turn on your cameras, please, guys?
Show your smiles. We need your smiles.
Just for a second. Thank you so much. Oh, everybody's feeling shy. Oh, we're seeing some faces. Thank you, Mohammed, Slim, Wasim, Wahi, Dora. Thank you. Come on, guys. Let's do this. Thank you so much. Okay, after three, everybody say cheese. 1, 2, 3. Cheese. You're so pretty on a Tuesday evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, guys. So my section tonight, I'm going to be talking about careers within the Pmo space. So there are lots of different routes into a Pmo. Let me just share my screen with you quickly. So we have lots of different roles within the Pmo space. So as you can see, and I'm sure that some of you already have these roles within your organizations because you've been asking fantastic questions and giving those perfect KPIs. So of course you can be part of the Pmo staff. You can be a Pmo trainer and a coach. So our dear Dr. Darwish here, he is an authorized instructor for the Pmo certification. And as we know, for that continuous improvement within the Pmo space, any Pmo director or leader is continuously coaching and mentoring people within the Pmo. So this is a very, very special role within the Pmo space. Then we have Pmo officers, we have Pmo managers, directors, and of course, Pmo sponsors. So I'd like to ask you, is there anybody that is actually working within a Pmo right now? Please type Pmo in the chat box if you're currently working within the Pmo space. Please write Pmo in the chat box. Let's see who we have here that's currently working in a Pmo. Dylan, absolutely. Wahi, beautiful. Assam, fantastic. Brilliant. So there's a few people working within the Pmo space. This is beautiful. This is beautiful. So how about Wahi? Helmi, Ramzi, Nazir, Ala. There's loads of you. Fantastic, fantastic. Is anybody feeling brave? Would you like to tell us about your experience working within the Pmo space? Is anybody feeling brave? Please type me if you'd like to share with us. We'd love to hear your success stories, your lessons learned, you know, the challenges that you're facing within the Pmo space in Tunisia. Is anybody feeling brave? Type me. It's okay. Yes, yes. Rocky, thank you. Thank you. Please unmute yourself and tell us a little bit about your experience working within a PMO.
You heard me?
We can hear you perfectly, yes.
Yes. I'm Wajih Douma. I'm responsible for strategic planning and project monitoring in Central Bank of Tunisia.
Wow.
Since 2019, we had our first strategic plan, and then we have to implement a project management office with the governance, with the procedure, with the process, in order to fulfill and achieve our vision and strategic objective. It's amazing such experience, but there is some problems, and the main problem are a problem of culture. We know that project management is a field based on contractualization and performance. And in central bank, first we are in public sphere, and when we talk about public sphere is really is different from private, and it's hard to implement KPIs and to implement performance management. Second, when we talk about project management is an Anglo-Saxon discipline, and we know that in Tunisia we have some French culture that doesn't align with the Anglo-Saxon discipline like project management. But we try to, in our second strategic plan, we try to explore our lesson learned from the first strategic plan, and to consolidate the good points like sponsorship of government of banks, and maybe the capacity building for project manager and sponsor and other stakeholders.
Fantastic. Wajih, thank you so much for being so brave.
And,
I think, yes, please.
And last point, I have finished my MBA in Dauphine.
Congratulations.
And I have finished survey with about 13 central bank, and there is some result about Pmo and the linkage between project management and the strategic management. Yes. I found that central bank that or which monitor strategic progress via project progress can find some problems to achieve strategy. Then the central bank which utilized and implemented the strategic management tool like Cockpit approach or balanced scorecard succeed to achieve strategic objective and vision.
Fantastic, Wajih. I love it. I love it. I think you're absolutely right. You know, within the public sphere, it's kind of a different ball game to within the private sphere. I think you're absolutely right. And culture within the nation is very, very important, but culture within, you know, the organization itself, the environment, getting that emotional intelligence actually that Ahmed was talking about earlier. I think it's all important within the PMO space. Thank you so much for giving us a little bit of experience. Thank you.
Corinne,
yes.
maybe when we talk about the cultural aspect, you know that when we implement project management, we are in the when we talk about organizational structure in matrix structure between hierarchical management and project management, and it's hard to integrate the two things, two type of management in the same organization. This is the problem.
It is, absolutely. And this is where that emotional intelligence comes in, isn't it? And kind of the emotional intelligence within the whole PMO, everybody working within the PMO, and that executive sponsorship as well. You know, they're both so important to the success rates of the PMO. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Well, let me just share my screen with you. I'm just going to go over a few things with you. So Pmo Global Institute, basically, we started doing a huge research project around 4 years ago, where we took feedback from over 10,000 project managers in over 150 countries. This research project was absolutely huge. We found multiple challenges within the PMO space, and we found that there was a gap when it came to capacity building, as what you said, training, education, getting everybody's buy-in within the PMO space. And this is why we created this institute. So this is to support anybody's careers as they move forward into the PMO space. So the first way that we can help you tonight is you can become a member of Pmo Global Institute. Excuse me. It's completely free. Nadine is going to share the link. Thank you, Nadine, in the chat box right now. You can click here and you can sign up for free. Here you will be able to download your very own version of the CB Pmo framework. So this is a way to become a learner to see what you can do with the framework. Tonight, at the end of this event, we're going to have a quiz where 5 lucky people will win the full membership. So this is worth $89 and it's a fantastic prize. With this, you can download the Pmo Guidebook. Here it is. So this is the Pmo Guidebook. You can download your very own digital version if you win tonight or just for $89. The next way that we can help you is for you to become a CB Pmo consultant. So our dear business partner, Dr. Ahmed, he is here tonight and he is an authorized instructor for the CB Pmo certification. This certification is 21 hours and it will help you no end on how to implement and run a successful PMO based on the CB Pmo framework and the Pmo Guidebook. So this is the second way. If you are interested in taking a course, please email Dr. Ahmed Darwish. Ahmed, if you could please put your email in the chat box here, and he will let you know when the next CB Pmo training program is happening. So this is the second way. The third way is to become an authorized business partner of Pmo Global Institute. So if you have that entrepreneurial mindset, if you feel like you are a trainer, a born instructor, that you want to help your community and beyond to progress in the PMO space, then you can become a business partner of Pmo Global Institute. We support you in many, many ways by giving you excellent training, tools, support, and anything you need to create your own CB Pmo training business. If this is the case, please email me. I will put my email in the chat box. And these are the 3 ways that you can join us. So become a member, become CB Pmo certified, become an authorized business partner instructor. Thank you very much, guys, for listening to me tonight, and I wish you all the best. I hope you've taken notes. We're looking forward to those 5 lucky winners. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much, Corinne, for sharing with the audience opportunities, how they can boost their career. And for now, our main session, our main part of today's event is coming to an end. So we are getting closer to some activities and interactions, such as the quiz and contest. But first of all, let's cover the Q&A part. So now let me ask questions that you have typed already in our chat box. So, and the first question is, above PMO type, what's the linkage between PMO duties and Strategy Management Office, since the ultimate objective is aligning realization with the overall organization's vision? Dr. Ahmed? Dr. Ahmed, can you hear us? Maybe he has lost connection because I can't see him. Let's check. So before Dr. Ahmed is joining, maybe Mr. Wasim can help us to cover this question. All right. So we are contacting our speaker.
Sorry, guys, where's Dr. Darwish gone? I have no idea. Wasim, how about you? Sir, could you help us out with this question?
Yeah, I want to get the opportunity and let Mr. Ahmed address these questions to make them in line with what is the offering of the Global Institute. So let's give a try and try to contact him. Otherwise, I can answer the questions from a more generic aspects as well.
No problem. Thank you so much, Wasim. Let's give him a couple of minutes.
You're welcome.
Nawaf, in the meantime, you said you'd like to shed some light on the idea that the lack of sponsorship is not a cause of failure. Would you like to expand on this a little bit?
All right. I think Mr. Ahmed has already joined us. Yeah, right. Mr. Ahmed, please turn on your microphone and I will repeat our question. So the first question is, above PMO type, what's the linkage between PMO duties and Strategy Management Office, since the ultimate objective is aligning realization with the overall organization's vision?
Nadine, this question is for the audiences to answer, am I right?
From the audience, yes, and please answer it.
This question is for me. I'm sorry, I didn't get it. So
I can
I'm sorry.
repeat.
Yeah, the last part. What is the relationship between?
So the ultimate objective is aligning realization with the overall organization visions. So what's the linkage between PMO duties and Strategy Management Office?
For sure, Strategy Management Office has its own objectives in order to make sure that the organization strategy is achieved. So they set the strategy of the organization and they convert this strategy into initiatives. These initiatives normally are taken as projects and programs under maybe one portfolio or maybe more. So the PMO is the one who is really executing and monitoring and governing these initiatives in order to help the strategy office to achieve the strategy and taking the organization to the next level. So if you would like to say, you can summarize it as the strategy office is working at the strategic level, and the PMO here is working at the tactical level. So aligning the tactical with the strategy is one of the key roles of the PMO. So the PMO role here is to make sure that these initiatives, which will help the strategy of the organization to be achieved, and this is for sure is managed by the strategy office, is important. And one of the key rules of the PMO is to make sure that this is happening in the right direction.
All right. And the following question is, in this case, is it possible to ensure strategic objectives without setting up any strategic management tool, such as BSC or Cockpit approach?
Our tools طبعا is very useful to help us to work and manage things. But without tools, even this could be achievable. Yani, I have worked maybe in more than 12 organizations, including IBM, Fujitsu, Arachi Bank, yani, Bank Al Bilad. So those are large organizations having a clear strategy and very strong strategies. So having a tool to achieve that is really useful. However, without a tool, we can also still measure our set our strategy and measure it across the years, either short-term strategy or long-term strategy.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much. And what do you think on the opinion that our participants said that I'd like to shed light on the idea that lack of sponsorship is not a cause of failure. So what do you think about this?
لا طبعا lack of sponsorship is one of the key causes of failure, because without a sponsor protecting the PMO and helping the PMO to achieve, whenever the PMO stuck with any stakeholder, especially the executives and the external organizations, the intervention of the key sponsor is very important. طبعا the sponsor is not only logical or supporting us emotionally or with his influence and power, but also with the budget. So the sponsor is the one who's giving us the budget to achieve and to establish the PMO, hiring the people, train them, bringing the technology stack, which is going to help us as a tool to manage the PMO. So the sponsor intervention and existence and their support is his support is very, very important and crucial to the PMO, and could cause a real failure to any PMO that might operate without support from the sponsor.
All right, thank you so much. We have two more questions. So when we talk about capability maturity model for project management or any other management field, that cultural aspect is important to ensure good change management. In other words, as a discipline based on contractualization and performance, someone is think that portfolio management is a fully question of culture, particularly in public sphere.
Our culture factor is very important for any change management, and this is the most challenging factor actually, because changing people and the way they think and aligning them from their mind and style and the way of thinking with the direction and the change that you want to do is very, very difficult, and it takes years sometimes. Yani, in digital transformation, for example, which is the field that I am working on, it's one of the key showstoppers for us to transform the organization is the culture. So culture, either positive or supportive from the other side, or resistive, is one of the key things that we are thinking about whenever we do any kind of transformation within the organization. And طبعا for sure, establishing a PMO is a transformation, and we have seen that maturity and health check is there. So in order to take the PMO from level 1 to 2 to 3 or to 5, is very challenging, especially if the people in the organization is not helping you and the culture in the organization is not helping you to achieve. And there is a common say that culture eats strategy for breakfast. And this is now, it's not only breakfast. In some organization, it eats the strategy for breakfast and dinner even. So it's really a challenge and important to manage the culture and make sure that people are changing according to the direction that's needed, either by the CEO or the Pmo manager himself.
All right, and the last question that we have for today, how the Pmo ROI is calculated?
So first of all, طبعا we need to invest in establishing the Pmo. So that investment is time and money, and at the end of the day, all factors and especially time is reflected into money. So for example, we are going to hire people, we are going to buy tools, we are going to rent a place, or maybe take a space from the organization. We have to bring tools and different stuff. We have to spend time to develop our process and procedures, the structure. Let's say also training the people in the Pmo, and sometimes either train the trainer or subscribing to a professional institute like the Pmo Global Institute in order to develop them. So this investment need to be returned, and that's why we are calling it return on investment. So the return should be in terms of, let's say, if we finish the required number of projects this year and we start getting the revenue, this is some sort of a return of that investment that we have done in the Pmo. Increasing the performance by 10%, this could be monetized in order to know how much we have returned from this enhancement of our process and procedures, and so on. So whatever the Pmo enhance in the organization, either performance, even retention, by the way, is also intangible, but could be also reflected into monetary value. So all these values are summed and counted versus the investment that we have put in the Pmo. So the return over the investment or the cost should be the return on investment that we have done in the Pmo.
Thank you for such detailed answer. And actually, we have Mr. Nawaf Al Ahmadi, who has raised his hand. Please take the floor and ask your question.
Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Masal khair. Good evening, everyone. First of all, I'd like to thank the PMI Tunisia chapter as well as the Pmo Global Institute for setting up this really informative sessions, and special thanks to Wasim and Ahmed also for their presentations. My question before, it was not a question. I was like to have some elaboration from Mr. Wasim regarding the what do you call it? He mentioned something about the lack of sponsorship. I think Mr. Ahmed also shed some light on this question. To my understanding, I feel that lack of ownership for sure. I mean, the lack of sponsorship, sorry, it's not a symptom. I think Mr. Wasim mentioned that it's not a cause, it's a symptom. I do believe, I think this is very interesting point from Mr. Wasim. Maybe we can hear from him as well about this point. It is to be like a symptom, not a cause. For me, I find it very interesting. I'd like to hear more from Mr. Wasim. My other question was also is for Mr. Ahmed, and I think he already answered. It's about the return on investment on PMOs. I find it a bit difficult to set some or to identify ROI on a PMO, because PMO, most of the activities are intangible. I do believe that the ROI usually is based on projects that is being supervised or being managed by the PMO. Maybe he can have, or he has something to add on this. Thank you all. I'd like to.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nawaf, for the attention to both presentations. And in fact, yes, I think you've got different views, and this is quite normal. And this is how people, let's say, interact. So someone thinks this way, the other one thinks the other way. My personal point here regarding the point dealing with lack of sponsorship, as you've mentioned, I stated as more a consequence than a cause. Why? Because PMOs are not able to meet the expectations of their stakeholders, especially the top management, because these people are the ones who are going to fund and to make the PMO live within the organization. So that's why I mentioned and I said that to overcome this issue, the key point here is to understand that nothing is more important to a PMO to be able to survive than its ability to generate value perception for its stakeholders. Managing the value or generating the value perception could start with the identification of what are the needs, what are the asks of these stakeholders within the organization, and then matching these asks and these problems and these needs with the functions and the services that the PMO would address. As these services and these functions could provide value in short term, mid-term, and long term. And the value perception of the PMO and where we have the PMO managers that will have the correct vision is to balance all these services from the short term to the long term to have quick wins that will address in a very short time the needs, like improve the reportings and stuff like that, but also put in place methodology and maximize the organizational maturity, which is a long-term objective that will not be perceived in a quicker manner. And doing that, managing the value would be the very most important item. Going back to the sponsorship, if we address the needs of the stakeholders, then we will have their sponsorship by nature. So this is my point in here. For the second answer, I will let the stage to Mr. Ahmed to interact on that.
Thank you so much, Wasim. And thank you, Naif, for the question. About the return on investment, I know that it's might be not easy to calculate the ROI. However, I can give you examples, maybe can make it a little bit clear. For example, assume that we have historically a delay in our projects, which impacts the profitability of our business. Assume that you are working in a bank where the bank is introducing, let's say, products and services to customers. And normally the business, when they submit the business case, they show that for the first year, we are going to make, let's say, 1 million value, okay, as a profit from this project. So delaying the project for, let's say, 4 months, this means that it's 1/3 of this 1 million. Okay, so it's almost, let's say, 333,000, whatever by US dollars, or the real, dinar, dirham, whatever the currency is. So if the project is completed on time, this means that the return on investment of the PMO managing this project this year, instead of that we get a 4-month delay or 3 months delay, this value is coming because the PMO has now managed this project in a proper way, or set a governance that ensures this project was completed or is completed on time. So this, for example, is one of the values that we will count as a return on investment for the PMO. So if the PMO, let's say, cost was 1 million, and the return on investment from only this project was 333,000, then the return on investment of the PMO of the 1 million is, let's say, 333,000. So by counting all projects which we have executed this year, and especially about the percentage of projects went into success has increased, this means that each of these projects, especially those business projects, sometimes even compliance and regulatory projects, because they are saving us the cost of being penalized, or the fine that we might pay for the regulatory, is also indirectly counted as return on investment. So all these projects, either business projects or compliance and regulatory projects are then summed, and the return of these revenues increases, cost reduction, optimization. Maybe you have optimized the operation of the back office or your branches or whatever. Then we sum all these values, and then we divide this by the cost, so we can see how much return we have got from the PMO because of them start managing the projects, reducing the time to market, increasing the percentage of projects being delivered on time, and so on. So, طبعا for sure, a cost element is also there in projects, as you know. For example, we have cost performance index, which is also could be shown as a return on investment out of the PMO because they are managing the cost of projects in a proper manner, and we can even achieve some savings in the cost based on that cost performance index if the index is over 1, which means that there was a saving rather than overrun in the project. So all these factors and all these figures are counted in the calculation of the return on investment. I wish if I was able to answer your question, and maybe examples can make it clear.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ahmed. And I suppose now it's the last question for today. Please explain more the split of work and the duties segregation between the PMO and project manager, please.
Okay, this is could be clear if you have seen a PMO really operating in your organization. PMO is not doing the same job or the same daily task of or daily activities of the project manager. The project manager normally focus on the deliverables and the outcome of the project. Okay, as we say that now we are talking about not only completing the project on time, within the budget, according to the quality and the scope. I think this is now has been changed into giving value to the business. Okay, in line with this, the PMO start working with the project manager in order to help the PMO and help the project managers to achieve their day-to-day activities. So if you think about, it's more about supporting the PM to let's say have the resources. So if there is someone resigned or maybe the PM needs some additional resources, the PMO will help the PM to get these extra resources. They will help him to let's say understand the process and procedures within the organization. They give the project managers training in order to make sure that they understand the process and procedures and the methodologies. For example, PMO certified baseline or PMP or Prince 2 or whatever the certification is. So this kind of activities is the role of the PMO, not the project manager. For example, also the reporting of the status of the projects and the overall status of the projects and the portfolio of the organization. This could be at the level of the PMO, not at the level of each project manager. So helping them to perform, get enough resources, get the budget, train them, make them understand the process and procedures and the organization, supporting them to, even with the stakeholders, sometimes the PM might go and escalate an issue to the PMO head, and the PMO head can help him and support him to get the support and get things done with the stakeholders. So all these kind of things are done by the PMO to support the PM to achieve the objective of having a successful project at the end of the day.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ahmed, for such detailed explanations. And for today, we have finished with the main part of our event, and I will stop the recording. And now we are going to play the Kahoot game. So